So last time we were here, we created our sign up using AWS Cognito. The next step is to use the sign in, the built-in sign in. Although you can use it, I'm going to show a way of creating your own HTML version. Turns out in the application we're using, it's slightly easier to understand. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. We're going to grab the same title. And we're going to save it as sign-in.html. So we're going to save that. We're going to go back to index, and now this we can create an href. And this is just a local file now, so no big ginormous URL. Something is wrong, I've missed the quotes. There we go. So here's our new page. It now has sign in, and when you go to sign in, nothing happens because there's nothing there yet. So we need to write this code. The code is a little complex and long, so I'm not going to type it out. I have it right here. I will step through it all, but you don't need to see me sit and type code. I'm going to have to put that back. Okay, so here's all the code. So we have our header, and in our header this time we actually have metadata that just says it's UTF-8, and then we have these JavaScript files. Okay, so the first one, jQuery. What the heck is jQuery? jQuery, right here, is a JavaScript library, and the Cognito JavaScripts that we're going to see in a moment use this, so we need this one. You'll notice we're at 3-1-4, and if we go back to our code, 3-4-1 is the latest version, and minified just means that all the white space has been removed. So this is going to be used by Cognito in a moment. You'll notice then we have JavaScript /something, which means that this is going to be a local file. So we're going to have to create a new folder called JavaScript.js, which is common, and we need to put this file in. So this is the JavaScript library for AWS Cognito. So I happen to have it locally. So we're just going to take that and drop it in. All these files will be in my GitHub repo, which in the documentation you can see a link to. Oh, that was the wrong one. That was actually this one that I brought in. So we need that other one. It's actually 3 files. So it was this one that we need brought in. So that's this one here. So we're all set and ready to go. This is another external one. This is also an Amazon one, and you can look it up online. Here we are, AWS SDK for JavaScript, and you will notice 4.2.8 is the latest one, so it's referring to that. And I'm slightly ahead, not sure why. But anyways, this also works. This one's been added, so we're good to go there. And then we need this config one. This is going to be particular to you. So I'm going to open up the config. So in the config, it has user pool ID. If you go back to Cognito and go to general settings in your pool, you'll notice you have a pool ID. Grab that and replace this with that. Okay, so that is your, actually just let me make sure that that's the right one. Yep, that's the right one. Okay. The next one is app client setting. If you go down there, you'll notice that you have this app client ID. So grab that and put that in there. Okay. Now region is just the first part of your user pool ID. So you can grab that from there. make sure you save this file. Okay, you have to update it and save it. So what's going to happen is this AWS Cognito is going to look at this configuration file to get information out of your user pool and your client so that it can make sure that the person that is registering or logging in is actually in your pool. Okay, so that's configuration and we're good to go there. So these are just JavaScript libraries that we're going to be using. Inside the body we have this form. Okay, and the form has an H1 that says please sign in, and then it has two input fields, which makes sense because we need to ask for their email address and the password. So the email address is going to be in input username, that's where what variable it's going to be saved in, and input password. And there's going to be one button, and the button is going to say sign in. When the button is clicked, this function is going to happen. Okay? Then later on in the page we have this divider, which is just a div, it's a section, and it has an ID so that in JavaScript we can put information in there. At the moment it is completely blank, so this is going to show nothing on the web page at the moment. Later on, when you click on this button, the information of what user has logged in will show up here. Okay, so I'm just going to save this and we're going to preview it. And we're going to stick that in the big window. We're going to make sure that we press F12 so that we can see it. Once again, the Fivi icon error is there, but that's okay. And here is our web page. Email address goes there, password goes there. When they click sign in, this Java code for on-click is going to happen. So where is this code? Well, if you come down to script, it's down here. I'm just going to correct my indenting. Oh, indenting is 2. Okay, so in our scripts we have a whole bunch of things happening. So we have a couple variables. This variable, you'll notice with the round brackets, is actually a dictionary. We're going to save this in data. You'll notice these things are capitalized because they're a dictionary that refers to Cognito, and this is the keys that AWS Cognito is expecting. Okay, so you just put them as is and we're set and ready to go. This user pool and client ID is actually going to be coming from over here. That's where it's grabbing it from. Then it's going to create a new variable, which is a new object of Amazon Cognito identification, and it grabs this data, which we just set up. It then takes Cognito, this new pool, and says get current user and sticks it into that variable. Okay, so this is just setting up for your particular configuration of pool and app what the heck is going on. When the button is clicked, sign in button function happens, and that's this function right here. Okay, so this is going to sign us into Cognito. So it's going to take these two pieces of information, the email address and password, and it's going to take those and stick them in these two variables. Okay, once again, notice that this is actually a dictionary. Okay, so that's why I've capitalized these, because Cognito is expecting that particular value. So it's just pulling the things off of the website that the person typed in and sticking them into this particular variable. You then take this particular variable and you run it against Cognito identification and you get this authorization details. So if these are correct and they actually exist in this app client, in this Cognito pool, then what will happen is this authentication data will come back as true and we can do something. If it doesn't, then what will happen is we can find out that the user is not who we're expecting, and we won't let them go into our website. So that's what's happening on this authorization. Then what we're doing is we're taking I was right here. So this is now our Cognito user. You then take the Cognito user and you take this authenticate, and you're actually going to return something which is called a JWT token. So this is a really big, long, confusing thing. You actually get 3 of them the first time, all the time, and this will just prove that the person is who they say they are. We're then going to also, for our case, because we were more interested in the email address, we're going to take this Cognito user that has signed in correctly, and we're going to get user attributes. So if this doesn't have an error, then what we can do is we can grab the results from this, which is actually an array, and we can grab the second element out of it, which turns out to be the email address. And we're going to take that email address and we're going to add it to you are logged in as, and we're going to place it in this document element, logged in, which you'll remember is empty up here. So that's the big, long process of what is actually happening in here. So if we go back here and we log in with this user, and put in the correct password and click sign in, you will see that that showed up. Here is the token I was telling you about. So these are 3 really big, long tokens which are unique to this user, and here is the element that came back with result. So email was verified as true, and the email is, there's the email. So that was the second element that I grabbed, okay? And I grabbed that element and placed it, grabbed that element here and placed it on the web page. So now we have the user's email address. And if you remember from last time, when we put this thing in temp, if we had the user's email address, which we had hard-coded at this point, and clicked on it, we could get their information from the database. So now instead of hard-coding this information, we now have it coming back. And what we're going to do, not right away, but eventually we're going to take this information, instead of showing it on the website, we're going to pass it back into our API and get the information back. Next step we need to do is, if we can sign in and sign up, we also need to have a way of signing out so that somebody else can't look at your information. And that's what we will do next time.